Welcome to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. Jimmy is a veteran U.S. Navy SEAL, a former protective officer for the CIA Global Response Staff, founder and CEO of the Able Shepherd Program, a husband and father of 4, and a personal friend of mine. Now here's Jimmy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Protector Culture Podcast with Jimmy Graham. I'm your host, Jimmy Graham, Able Shepherd 001 with BK Brian Karch 051, yeah?
51, yes.
51,
sir.
what's up, brother? We got to hang out and have lunch this week.
We sure did.
You see twice in 1 week?
Back to 24 hours almost.
Oh, lucky me, lucky me. Got to coach you through the pho. Some of my favorite, no offense locally, but one of my offices when I just go knock out work is Vivi, V-I-V-I, pho, here in Centennial. But our family favorite is pho, I think it's 777 down in Castle Rock. And like my kids won't even consider another one. Like it's like they love it that much. The problem is like when you're rolling with a family of 6, every meal is $100 bill, like minimum. Like just know that that's going to happen. But we enjoy that on Sundays. And Sarah Grace, that's her jam. She loves her fun. Like her birthday, that's where she wants to go. All right, so we're gonna do something different. You know, based on our conversation and based on what I'm seeing, which is something that guys don't really want to talk about. It'll get into the spiritual warfare side of the house, but I just haven't seen it worse. I just happen to know a lot of guys, like meaning more than any of the cities I've ever lived in combined because of what I do, what we do, and what we get out and meet people. And I've just never seen it this bad, meaning the attack on family, attack on marriage, attack on men, attack on women, attack on children. Basically, if it's good, there's an all-out, not in the shadows anymore assault. And it's time for counterattacks. You know, I did a speaking engagement recently where it was, here's the attack, here's the counterattack, here's the attack, like the book that I wrote, you know, Return of Man, check it out, please. It's a counterattack on the attack on men. There's an attack on masculinity. This book is a counterattack. It's a seed, planting a seed and seeing what God will do with it. I have no idea. By the way, there's another one coming out called How Do You Love a Fish? That's that's done minus the color in the pictures. Like they did sketches. You cool with this? If so, we'll do the pictures and all that stuff. It'll come back, and that's actually, we purchased a marketing plan or something like that where they tried to sell them as well. So it wasn't just a self-published thing. And that will be a counterattack on decency within a family. Like what are you saying to your children? Because it's a big, big deal. Last night, I did like a Zoom interview type podcast that you guys will be seeing with Erin Lee. And that one, there's a movie called Art Club where her daughter was recruited, literally recruited. And now it's a trans thing. And now in a public school, publicly funded, where they're literally bringing in witches. Like, I don't know what a blood witch is, but that doesn't sound good. But a registered blood witch is now teaching teachers on how to do this, right? And now there's trafficking going on, all this stuff right under our noses, funded by your tax dollars and mine. And this is happening, and somehow that's acceptable. And you know, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. You know, choose as to who you'll serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So this is happening, like in real time right now. This is going on. Yeah. So Erin Lee, look it up, Art Club, the movie, and how do we support those people that are on the front lines? There's all these fronts, right? Battles have many fronts: northern, eastern, western, blah blah blah. It's just what's that front? So on that trans conversation on protecting children and protecting their young impressionable minds and their bodies from surgeries, she's right up there. So we're going to see what we can do to support her. You know, and even in the podcast, I talked about financial. If you are that person that's busy, I get it, right? Don't hide behind that, by the way. But the least you can do is financial support, the least. And I know it's weird when you're talking about your own thing, right? So I'll talk about our thing, and I'll talk about white rose resistance, and I'll talk about all these things. The greatest sin of this generation is killing our babies, right? If people on the front lines, they need your support because wars need to be funded. Pull out your checkbook. And I mean it, do it. Okay, so this one, I don't know, man. We'll have to see what it ends up titling itself. But I want to do a quick update on Colorado Crazy. Because, right, we're in Colorado. And I say, hey, man, where are warriors built on the battlefield? Where are fighters, you know, built in the ring? Like, you can't do it from outside. So we are in a battleground, Colorado's crazy town. And dig in. Like, if you're going to run to someplace safer, I say, if you're going to move to Florida in strength. Because you like the beach, because you've lived a full life, you're going to do something else and something's calling you to Florida. But if you're running, you know what the good people of Florida don't need? A runner, right? Because when the battles come to Florida, you're going to run out of places to run. No matter where you go, there you are, right? So it's like, hey man, make your decisions and then live with them. But I was in Florida, I'd be like, why don't y'all stay out of here if you're running for your life? Anyways, Colorado crazy, justice for Jalen. I'm seeing this, and I saw it when it came out, and then I saw, so this is Jimmy's version of what happened. Do you know about this?
Very
right on the street.
Because I was out of town, I believe, so I'd love to hear it.
So there's one of these man, what is it? It was a main event. It was one of these play things, the video games, bowling, all this kind of stuff, right down here. There's a shooting inside, and as the police roll up, and you see the chest cam, you see all the stuff, and they're saying, hey, I only had 7 seconds, all this other stuff. A cop doesn't have 7 seconds, so just make that clear. Yeah. There's lights on the cars for a reason, so when you roll up and there's a cop, and he's there, and his lights are on, and there's been shots fired, and you're wielding a gun. Right, so it's pretty clear in the video, wielding a gun, and then points it at innocent people, right? And then he's drop it, and I mean, I think there was an amazing amount of restraint on the officer because he was already justified before he turned. But anybody that's ever understood tactics, when he turned towards the officer, man, you can't wait. Not only was it justified, it was mandatory. Like he has a duty to come home. He has a duty to the people of the community to stay alive, right? I mean, even if it's a fiscal thing, like, it takes a lot of money to bury a dude and hire another dude and train up people and do all that stuff. He has a duty to his family. He has a duty to, like, I can't believe this is a newsflash update. You have a right and a duty to protect your life. You just do. Yeah. And if you don't know that, then you're foolish. So, so the fact that this is even a discussion, and this issue started a long time ago. So if you want to blame people, which I wouldn't, you can blame whoever you want, but there's a lot of blame to go around. It starts in his house, like how he was raised. And I know that everybody wants to be gentle, take it easy on the parents. But at some point, man, heaven forbid if my son or daughters did something like this, it's like, man, what did I do here? What was I doing? Was I asleep at the wheel? Like you're flashing a gun around. And I was a pretty jacked up kid, rebellious and wild and all that stuff. But I knew not to do that. Like if you're going to act like that, you're probably going to get a bunch of holes poked in you, and that might not be survivable. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, somebody who's made in the image of God isn't alive anymore. And you can decide to do that. And that's unfortunate, but you can. You can wave around a gun in a public place where there's been a shooting. You can call it self-defense, and I was defending my family, but I don't think you understand what protection is. And I don't think you're seeing through the eyes of an officer who was put in that position to come defend the public, and then you're that dude doing that. It's just A leads to B leads to C. That's as clear cut. I mean, it's pretty much textbook, that shot. So yeah. I don't even know what the real conversation is other than your pain wants to demand justice and truth. Well, you can define that however you want, but there's not really only one way. Like the truth would be the actual way of things. And the actual way of things was this was justified all day long, and it had to happen. So enough on that. I wanted to put an opinion on that, and it is an opinion, but I've seen more than most on this particular topic. I would say one of the nation's leading experts, it took me a while, one of the nation's leading experts on this kind of thing is me. And I don't say that, look at me. I didn't know I was an expert until I heard fools talk. Yeah. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about, zero. So, okay, fine. I guess I'll talk about this stuff. And I do quite a bit. And I expect more of that on the national stage because we're hiring a PR rep that we've worked with before. And if you remember a moment when I was on Hannity and Huckabee and Bongino and all of this stuff, we just kind of like, that was with the Centennial Institute, when I was a fellow there. And we're like, I wonder what that guy's doing. So we just called him, can we hire you? And he's like, sure, I would love to work with you. And I'm like, awesome. Why aren't we doing it? What are we thinking, man? But it's time. So there's been many pieces that are getting back into place. So expect more of that voice out there of actual, they put together committees and panels of people that, I would want experts. You can call people experts, but if they don't know what they're talking about and they're making things worse, then I don't know that I have them on my panel. But just throwing that out there. Polis signs, so a couple bills. One of them is 2525003. That's what they're calling the watered down gun grab ban, whatever you want to call it. He says it's not a ban, and I'm not restricting guns, but it's absolutely unconstitutional. Doesn't matter in Colorado, right? So We'll see how it goes. I mean, now the legal process has to play out, but it's just, it bothers me that there's a lack of accountability for people who do foolish things that are just absolutely fly in the face of our Constitution, right? What's worse yet, because guns is one thing, right? I know how to use guns. You can ban them all day long. If it gets really bad, I'll find a gun, right? It's like, I'll take it from you. Like, it's whatever. It's like that kind of thing. If there's, but if there are guns out there then that could harm my family, then it would make sense that I should have access to a gun to defend my family.
To defend
right? And not the bolt-action rifle when they're coming with AK-47s. That math doesn't work out, right? So knowing that now you can actually print guns, that they're not going anywhere, right? So you're going to make it illegal for me to defend my family in an effective manner. And by the way, yours, because I've talked to some people that are very just selfish, to be blunt, and I say, I would defend your family. Should I have to die? Is that fair to my family that I would have to die defending your family? Because I would probably die for your kids. I don't know them, but I'd die for strangers because they're kids, right? Or because they're just innocent. I believe I'd do that. I said, I believe you would too. Does my family deserve that I die doing it, or could I live? Well, it'd be better if you lived, right? So can you give me a chance at success? Can the tools to be successful? Well, that's the thing for the police. Well, what if I could prove to you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that I could train people in excess of what the police get?
Yeah.
Meaning in all aspects of this, it's like not a better cop. They're not going to write better tickets. They're not going to know. But as far as defending human life, what if we could exceed that? Yeah. And it's not a what if. It's easy. It's actually very easy to do. And that print the legend thing, they believe it's way up here. It's not. The level's down here. It's easy. And then you just go a little bit above that. And then far beyond that, because I just posted a video, and I just met with a trooper today. Great dude, Christian guy. And he was just like, wow, they're really moving out. Like, they're moving quick. It's like, yeah, and they're doing it right. You're not, if you know what you're looking at, you're not seeing a lot of deals. So anyways, that's with guns. And it's wrong, and it'll likely lose, but there's no accountability for the fact that you can write whatever you want and jam everybody up and cost jobs, and people will die. And then you're just kind of like, well, I was just trying to do a thing. I just redefined safety, said it my way, and people died. Oh, well, let's try again. But then the SB 251312, called the Kelly Loving Act or something ridiculous because it sounds all safe and beautiful. But that's the one with this trans movement where you could use the dead naming, you could use the wrong words. In that instance, if somebody grabbed a hold of a young child's mind and said, this is, Christian, and I named him Christian, so I know his name. And I was there when he was born, so I know what gender he is, right? Because I saw the tools, right? It's like, roger that. And what you're working with, right? And if something happened there, then I could actually be fined and jailed and imprisoned for not paying fines on calling my son his name, not calling him his God-given gender. This is dangerous, dangerous stuff, right? It's absolute. Don't try to make sense of nonsense. It's nonsense, but it's time for adults to enter the room, to stand and say, we're not playing like that, play silly games, win silly prizes. This is ridiculous. No, knock it off, act right. And it's time for sheriffs, and I'm putting a lot of hope into my sheriff because I've just seen strength, and I've seen people fold like a lawn chair when the PR rep comes in the room. So it's time to find out who you are if you're an elected official in law enforcement, if you're an elected official, period, right? Not with the cameras on and the PR rep and all that. Who are you as a man or woman? It's time. Yeah. And here's a question I've got. I'm seeing pastors speak out on this. Amen for that. But does it suck bad enough to get you out of the safety of your church? Like if there's this false safety within the walls of a church. Oh, look how bold I am, and if they come for me, I'm going to jail. That's just the in vogue thing to say. But does it suck bad enough for you to find the courage to leave your church and say it in the public square? So I'm not seeing a lot of that. And the guys doing it, I know their name, and they got a lot of respect. And they're losing credibility if they're not, right? So, okay. All right, tough guy, get out there and get after it. That's just the deal. All right, so now we'll move on to just a happier recap of like the past 30 days-ish, right? So we had JC out here, the 86er, spent about 10 days out here, and it's so cool. So he's coming down from Montana, followed by Nick Higgins coming down from Maine, and he spent several days, came out here to do some training with us. And both of those fellows, amazing men of God, are aspiring to do something on the in the area of what we're doing here on a smaller scale, taking their skills, what they've learned with Abel Shepherd, out to Maine, out to Milford, Maine, out to Missoula, Montana, and saying, we're going to have a go at this. So running them through extensive training, getting some teach backs and saying, now what you need is go teach. He's got an amazing, I'm talking about Jason, amazing group of guys. He's the team lead of a church security team, and they get out there in the mountains and get after it. But now they're doing it with some skills, with some direction, and it's going. So he's getting those under his belt as we're recrafting our curriculum. Amazing stuff going on right now. The Dead Air rep, Jake Veith, we've known him for a long time, came in here, just this room right behind us, what we call the mix. And it's not a mixer, it's like a mix of topics, right? So we're not just sucking down booze and shooting guns. There's no drinking involved, but people are like, oh, is it a mixer? I'm like, what's a mixer?
Oh, it's
They're
a
like,
social.
Yeah,
Right. How you been?
So yeah, we hang out. We have a guest speaker. Sometimes there's snacks on the table or something like that, but it's not like liquor because we have guns and all that stuff, so that'd be foolish. But on this one, it was Dead Air. How are suppressors made? What's the legal thing? Is it a trust? Is it personal? Whatever. What's the best one for what I'm trying to get? What are you asking it to do? Well, I want it to be quiet. So maybe it's a different caliber because it's harder to suppress and make quiet, say a 5.56.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'll crack.
So maybe you go subsonic with a 300. This is a lot of information, and some of us know it and assume. We don't assume because there's a lot of good people they just need a little help, right? So thank you, Jake, for taking some time, coming in, busting out all that stuff, answering any questions we had, and then we go shoot them, right? And I'm like, so he pulls out that lever action, and it's a Marlin, and it's got a can on it, and I'm like, it's a 44 Magnum. I'm like, oh, that's my Huckleberry. I want that one, right? He's like, oh, do you have any 44 Mag? And I'm like, give me a second. So I hoof it across the field to Centennial. I buy a box of 44 Magnum, come back, and it's like, ka, 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 ka. Thing is just awesome. So I'm probably gonna end up with one. I'm just saying. I might go 4570. I know it's not gonna be so quiet, and I'm not talking about suppressor, but just that old school lever action. It's just, and if I'm gonna get one, it's gonna thump. So I'm thinking probably that 4570. So that was super cool. Jason coming down, the mix coming back, and we're looking at doing more of that and bringing more of this. Man, I have just been working on, to make Able Shepherd better, it means breaking off and making Jimmy Graham better. That's the deal. So trying to figure out what does that mean, because it's just been a long while. And if you guys have been around, we've got a deal going on where the older folks, and when I say that, I mean the people that have been around a while, they got brought up under one dude teaching classes from 6 to 8 p.m. and then hanging out and talking to midnight, right?
Midnight, yeah.
And that's just not really the future of what Able Shepherd's going to be. Meaning this, if it's about one person, anybody will tell you that's not an investable business and it's not scalable, right? So I've said from the get-go, it's like, I remember in Virginia Beach, Virginia, in the SEAL team days, driving by the Chuck Norris Black Belt Academy. I never once poked in to see if Chuck was in. You know what I mean? That's just the name, the credibility of that. We've built a thing where people have attained a very high level of capability through not only skills but also tactics, with a primary and a secondary in the area of active shooter response, of protection, which means self-defense, now stand in front of others. That can be spiritually, that can be mentally, that can be physically, but here we focus physical, and then that gets people in and we take them down a different road that's actually better. It's actually more important. It's actually a definite, not a maybe. You're definitely gonna have to protect your people spiritually today, mentally today, physically maybe someday, right? So it's like, it's just a big one. We say that kind of stuff is not high risk, it's high cost. Because if you do get that one wrong, you lose your child, right? You lose, the one's too many. Like I've got 4, and it's not like, well, if we lose one, no, they're all my everything, right? So that's a big, big deal. So, so understanding that is huge. And now we're bringing the mix back to get that thing going again, because it's been a long time, brother. It's been 13 years. In June, it'll be 13 years, the inception of this company. And it's beautiful, and I'm not complaining whatsoever. It's been long. Right? So now I needed a bit to have my team kind of just I say it this way, I'm charging, so you can charge with me, you can cover me, you can watch me die. There's only honor in 2 of those, but you get to pick, right? So they've stepped up, they've covered me, they stepped in for me, they've charged with me, and I needed to pull back a minute and spend some time on my family, spend some time on me. The analogy of don't be so busy driving, you're too busy driving to stop for gas. It finishes one way. It doesn't work. So that's what I've been doing and pouring into my marriage and things like that. And it's good. So I want to get into some of that stuff, because the more that as it's happening within my home, and this isn't crazy, we're not like, man, I've just seen some bad situations, and it ain't that. But nor is it what I was promised by God, right? So I don't want a decent marriage. I want an amazing marriage. I want happiness. I want joy. And I want that for Rachel. More than anybody on this planet, I want that for my wife. So that takes some more work. and it's not the work I'd pick.
Yeah.
Which means it's probably really good. You know what I mean? That's how you know it's from God. It's like, I wouldn't pick this. And God's like, I'm gonna, you've heard me say this. I need you to have a skill set. So a new skill set, I need you to obtain a new skill set. And I'm like, I'm always ready to grow. I'm ready to learn. Okay, well, you're not gonna like this one. Because this one, I need you to be able to love while being disrespected. I'm like, ooh, let's go again. Pass. It's like, no.
Can I phone a friend?
Yeah, no, this one, it's like, and it doesn't mean she means to. It means there's gonna be some stuff that you're gonna bring, it's gonna come across as very disrespectful, but can you love? And even this morning, I'm sitting there in chapel, just by the grace of God, I get to be the chaplain of Summit Christian Academy down in Castle Rock, right? What does that mean? Run chapel. What does that mean? I get to pour into kids on Thursday mornings and tell them, remind them of who God says they are, right? And talk to them and do all that kind of stuff. So that part's absolutely amazing. But this growth is going to be a new thing where, I need you to be able to love while being disrespected, and I'm building your resume again. But this time it's for something like for a job that doesn't exist yet. And in a time of prayer and ignition, this men's group that I get to facilitate, amazing guys, 30 guys in a room this last Tuesday, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, and they're just on fire. And I break into a small group and I pick one that's a little bit less than, so I go over there, I divide them up and everything, and then we sit down. And during some prayer, this comes out of my mouth. I hear this and I share it with them. That you've heard me say that 1 to 10. Like, you got a 1 to 10 scale on what you can accomplish, right? Yeah. So it's like that dig deep of like sitting in this chair would be 1, right? 10 is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, right? So this is what Bud's taught me. There's a 1 to 10. 1 to 10 scale, hardest thing you've ever done in your life. What SEAL training taught me was there's a whole other scale, 10 to 20, let's call it. 10 to 20, you're like, how is that possible? I ran out at 10. You thought you ran out at 10. Your mind can make your body. That's all you knew. That's all I knew, right? I always chose that, hey, this must be the hardest thing, therefore it became 10. It's like, fine, then let's call it 20. Because you're capable of doing it, and once you do it, you've done it. And now you can draw on that again, because you know it's a thing, right? It wasn't that, though. Now God's like, now we need to go to the other end. At 51, we need to work on the other end from 1 to negative 10. And I'm like, what? So I've been accused, called, labeled as intense, right? Intimidating, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, but it's 1. Are you kidding me? It's 1, right? But your 1 is a little much for Rachel, for maybe for the kids at times and all that stuff, where I'm like, and this isn't, I can't stand the when you get typecast, so you're a SEAL. Obviously, he must be running his home like a boot camp. That couldn't be further from the truth, right? It just means that that integrity, that definition of integrity, that steadfast adherence to a strict moral or ethical code. I'm clinging to a Bible now because I didn't before, and once I see something that must be stood for, I'm not really going to give. Now there are other things that came from Jimmy. And those can give. Those can be reinvented. Like instead of being, and this is a good analogy for guys. Instead of being, do you want to be a tough guy or do you want to be a strong man? Like tough and true strength are different, right? So to ask somebody like myself and others, like if you're just that person that's driven, don't ever ask me to be weaker, like ever, right? Because it's offensive and it's pathetic. And that's the problem with the nation is people are like, oh, you mean weaker? Okay, so I'll just, well, I'm not going to offend anybody, but we're not running a butterfly factory in here, right? No. And we're not raising that in our kids. But I am willing to redefine strength, right? So if we're going to add another, I'm not, it's horrible for an instructor to get somebody that's a know-it-all. Yeah, I got it. And it's very typical in the military. It's very typical in law enforcement. It's apparent you don't know what you're doing, but you're going to fake it because the print the legend says that everybody thinks I know. So I'll just drop a bunch of F-bombs, act tough, and then they'll stop asking questions. It's a smokescreen, right? And it's pathetic. And it's easy because once you know what you're looking for, you're like, there you are. I see you, right? And I don't want to be that guy. So now it's like, okay, let's redefine what true strength is, and let's talk about that. So what does that look like? And I want to read something that came out. Just some of these quotes that came either through, I'm a big fan of mentors that are older than me. Yeah. Like the sage, right? Bob, like Paul, like these guys are in my life. Dan, there's just guys that have lived a longer life than me. And if you've lived a full life, and then, if I've lived a full life and I actually care, you're a fool not to listen, right? And that's what I look at it like, man, these guys love me and they wouldn't lie to me. And maybe didn't mean I'm gonna do it, by the way. It makes him, like Dan gets crazy. He's like, oh, man, I told you what to do and you didn't do it. I'm like, that's right, because I prayed about it. Like, you're a voice, you're not the voice, right? So he says different, we're going. And it's never just led us astray. We've always been good to go in doing that, right? But I appreciate their input. But some of these guys are just amazing, and then they'll say things, and I'm like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And as opposed to learning everything from YouTube, I think that it's a mistake to not really just press into our senior citizens, those people that have preceded us, and they've done amazing things and they've done horrible things. And they're already sifting through these in their life, and how much honor and dignity does that give them to share that and maybe make my life better? So I don't know if I told you this or not. So the Sage is down in Louisiana, and health scares. He's sounding great. He's looking great. So that's all good to go. But one of his things he does is he goes down to the local brand new range and he gets after it. He pulls out his 19. He's doing his thing. So as I understand it, the owner's son, he goes over and he goes, hey, there's nobody here. Do you mind if I move? And he goes, what do you mean move? And he goes, can I go from bay to bay? Can I show you this? And I trained with Able Shepherd and blah, 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 Navy SEAL, all that. And he sets up kind of the stress. And the guy's watching me. He said, well, why are you doing it like that? And why are you doing your mag changes like that? And he's like, so Neil's going through it, and they're like, check out old school. He's smoking all of us. Like, there's people that just get really accurate. They're at the range, and they're the trick shooters, and they're doing all that stuff. And he goes, there's people that can shoot more accurate. As in, I can put 5 in the same hole, and they can put 10, or whatever, and then mine start to glow around. So he's very accurate. But when he starts going into tactics, he's like winning. Mm-hmm. So the son has done some research, and now, as I understand it, has created a league based off watching Neil and going, this shooting thing can get cool. Mm-hmm. And Neil's feeling like this. Like the Sage he's saging again, right? So he's back to it of just saying, like, can I show you something? Can I do like whatever? And that's super cool. So not only does it add dignity, to some of our folks, and that, man, there's a lot of value in what you got going on, but then also, why do I want to repeat those mistakes?
Yeah.
Right? So whether it be some of those guys or this Dr. Fabian's, what his name is, Cornbrook, dang it, sorry if I messed that up. But some of these folks, sometimes you need to just pump the brakes and say, I don't want to be too busy driving to stop for gas. I want to gas up. Right? So a lot of that's been going on in the past several months in my life. And one of the things would be, this came out, I can't remember who said it. She can't, so you must. So in a lot of ladies have experienced trauma in whatever, some way, shape, or form. The numbers are not good. I've heard 70%, and this is on the sexual side, and whether it's, that's many forms, it's not a small number,
no.
Right? So that image came to me as, I'm sitting in a room with Rachel, and somebody comes in and goes, hey, I need some help. Just real quick, before we get started, can you come out here and help me move this thing? It's about 200 pounds. There's no way I'd be like, hey, babe, you're up.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? On you. It's like, yeah, keep chilling. I got this, right? Why? Because I'm stronger. In this instance, I'm stronger, right? That's a big deal. I asked my men's group this, and it kind of went sideways for a second. I let it because it was fun. And I said, hey guys, question for you. I've been thinking about this. Because there was a little bit, not complaining, but guys, if you let them go, it's like, well, and then this, including me, right? So I said, should men compete in women's sports?
No.
Yeah, and that was their thing. No. And I go, why not? And they're like, have you lost your mind? I'm like, I'm just asking a question. Why not? And here they go. Stronger, faster, blah, 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 and the lung capacity, blah, blah, blah. They're just straight up, they were just built stronger. And I go, then act like it. And they're like, it's like, right. So it's like, there's certain things, and in this moment right now, I know a lot of men that are in a position where they're just getting hit. They're getting hit left and right, and there's a heavy thing. Not a light thing, a very heavy thing facing their family right now, and it's them. They got to lift it. It's like, she can't, so you must. It's like, okay, mouthpiece in, because now it's a challenge again. And I kind of dig challenges, right? I'm like, okay. So this whole, it ain't fair. And I've said this, like, clinging to truth and saying, this is simply not true what was said. This was said, and Bob, man, this guy's just so good. And it really landed well. And I said, but this is not what was said. Well, she said this. And I go, I understand. Here's the deal. That never came out of my mouth, and I can't be accountable for that. It's like, but that's what she heard. And I'm like, this is crazy talk. I'm not accountable for that. And he said, Jimmy, if she took a lie detector test, she would pass. And that really landed. And I'm like, huh. So that lie from the enemy always is that it was intentional. It wasn't intentional. This is like, there's puppet strings being pulled, you know? Yeah. And you know, biblically, it's, you know, we don't battle against flesh and blood. It's these, you know, forces and principalities and all that stuff. And I would argue, because I've heard this, that it's not merely flesh and blood. We do battle flesh and blood. Like if there's an active shooting, you're not aiming at a principality. You know what I'm saying? So it's flesh and blood. It's how it manifests. But when you back up and you see the real thing, if you understand who you are, whose you are, there's a game being played, and you never really took time to look at the rules.
And what is amazing to me, I know a couple years ago we talked about that weird movie. You don't know you're in the fight.
That's why you're losing. Yeah. I didn't know it was a fight. That's why you're losing. Yeah.
2 days ago, something came over to me, and I shared that with my son. Because, you know, he's 24, young, athletic, goes to the gym every day to move pieces of heavy things around the room. I'm like, spiritual, mental, physical. Because if you don't know that you're under spiritual attack right now, wow, are you in trouble?
Right.
Because the harder you try, the closer you get to God. The more you read that book, oh boy, do they come running for you. Because they want to take down the good guy. They don't care about the dirtbag in the corner there.
Yeah. And you don't want to be 75 on your deathbed and you're like, this was true?
Yeah, the whole thing?
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
Like I messed up big time because I didn't even know. Like it's like, hey man, that's the deal. Like that's history, his story, right? It's like that's the deal. This is the story of your life. You're in it. This is like you're somewhere between, you know, the cross and Revelation. You're right there in this story, and it's being written as we speak. It just didn't make these pages, but it's in the story, you know. And you're like, wow, all of a sudden it's purpose, it's accountability, it's all of this stuff, and that chapter will not suck, right? You're like, okay, bring it, you know. So that's a huge deal when you're talking about, you know, they're watching you, and how would you know the rules unless somebody taught you? But you got to have credibility. Then there's got to be an invitation, then a bunch of reminders along the way, right? Mm-hmm. It's got to be that way. So now it's like, and then later in life, I run a lot of people. I'll be on stage talking. I'll come back off. Somebody walks off, and this one person in particular, they walk over and they're like, "Why don't you talk about?" And it was almost like a mad at me. But he's telling me a story, and I just put on that softer, and I just not. Softer, not soft, not like a lawn chair, not doormat, but stoic. And I just look at him with compassionate eyes as he goes, "Why don't you talk about so-and-so, and then so-and-so you didn't know that to tell them that, and then they went trans, and then they did this thing, and then they were gay, and then they fell back, and then there was a suicide, and you didn't know because you weren't taught, and blah, blah, blah." And I'm just shaking my head. And he's like, "Maybe you should talk about that." And then he just leaves. And I'm like, "Hey, love you, pray for you." "Yeah, but maybe you should talk about that." And then they just go. And it's like, that's your thing right now? And God's convicting you and working in you, and it's unfortunate, but okay. Yeah. All right, get it out, brother. This is one of those, did we talk about this, the emotions things? There's emotional intelligence, but then there's also the four main emotions.
Okay,
Did we touch on this?
Barely.
Okay.
I knew there was four.
Yeah, happy, sad, angry, scared, right? So this is one of those things where you just want to you're like, man, how am I 51 years old, right? So since we talked about this, it's just been coming up over and over and over again. And it's such a tool, I think, for people that are right now in the spiritual battle within their home, within the family, wherever it's at. And it's a game changer, and it's life-changing, and it's also life-saving in this context, right? That thing goes off, men, in the back of your head, women too, but like just right now, it's like you feel that thing where you're kind of, maybe somebody disrespected you, maybe somebody said something, maybe it's called out, maybe you're embarrassed, whatever, but you know that feeling you get? And now something stupid's probably gonna fall out of your mouth? Uh-huh. And then just having the intelligence and the wherewithal to ask yourself, what is going on here? And there's four basic emotions, and the rest stem from those, but it's happy, sad, angry, or scared. So you say, what am I feeling right now? Like, what's going on here? I think I'm angry. Why are you angry? You know, and this is internal, but it's gotta be honest. Because if it's not honest, what are you doing, right? So if you're throwing a smoke screen, then good luck. I guess just enjoy your life. But it's like, now you're caring enough about this because it hurts bad enough to actually just start focusing on the real thing, or at least head in that direction. Why am I mad? Well, because she said this, right? She always says that. And you say it's just some stranger in the street, you know, or somebody at work. Let's say somebody at work. They said a thing. They're just disrespectful. Okay, they're always disrespectful. So they were being themselves, and you chose to be mad. Is that a truer thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And now you're all jammed up, and now you're going to take that home with you. You're going to wear that on your skin and go take that into your house because you decided to go pollute your house with her problems. And then you go, this is silly. I'm not mad anymore. You know what I mean? Be cool. And then some of these, I like the direct, these things that are just said over and over within my home on a daily, if not weekly basis, is that I'm in charge of them. In charge of me.
In charge of me.
I'm like, son, you in charge of them? No. You're in charge of me. What are you gonna do? Better. And then we just move on. It's just like, gone. Right? Or that little innocent giggle that he does and all that kind of thing. It's just good stuff. But if you understand that happy, sad, or you're scared, why am I happy, sad, or you're scared? You go a couple rooms deep in that with a couple whys and you're like, this is ridiculous. I'm getting played. Like we said that. When you realize you've been a pawn your whole life, but you were born to be royalty. Like I'm born to be a king and I've let myself be a pawn. This is a foolish thing on my part and it ends today. Right? So it's a beautiful moment of freedom, of liberation, all this other stuff. And then go get your family back, right? So it's like, oh, it's too late. And the older guys, you're like, oh man, it does. Like, no. I told this at the men's retreat. What if, a guy came into the office, I may have said that. What if you said this day, it happened to be my son's birthday. On this day, on Jimmy's son's birthday, we had a conversation. I took this to God, went home with it, and everybody in my life saw a change. I don't care if you're 25, I don't care if you're 85. It's like Grandpa finished strong because something happened and he changed. He put a stake in the sand and man, he finished well. That's a good story, right? Even after all that opposition that probably wasn't yours, right? It wasn't on you. Somebody imposed that on you or you just didn't know. You just flat out didn't know.
Kind of circling back a few minutes, one thing I wish I knew better or understood better, you talked about traumas and I'm kind of far down the road, right? But traumas, say at Christian's age, that don't get fixed properly or resolved, get hidden, buried, whatever, they come up in really weird ways.
Yes.
When you're grown up, when you're in relationships. So now you take two people who have, I think of sports. You have an injury and you don't fix the injury properly, you can't perform right going forward. And having to unravel some of that spaghetti at 50-some plus years old in a marriage, that's not easy.
Another Bud's lesson. Easier to keep up than to catch up, brother. You fall too far back, you ain't making it. Because everybody's running at, serious professional runner speeds. And if you fall behind, you're going to have to do superhuman stuff just to get in front of the goon squad dude, right? It's like, that cutoff guy where you go home. you just dig a little bit harder and just stay in front of that dude or stay towards the front. It ain't like it's easy, but you fall behind and now you need a miracle to even stay there.
And the conversations are difficult.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they're honest. And the one thing I've learned from you over the years is it must start from and come from a good place.
Yes.
I am starting from a place of love. Blah, 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 blah. Because fighting accomplishes nothing.
That a couple song references here is and listen to this after you finish the podcast, obviously. But even if you don't, have you heard that song, "Mercy Me"?
Okay.
Yeah, on the way I'll send it to you because sometimes we'll be driving and I'll just be like, ping, ping, ping. Even if you don't, the gist of it is God. I got some stuff going on, and like right now I need you, and blah. I could really use you coming through for me. But even if you don't, I'm still in. Like it's like you're God. And I told those kids this morning. Why'd you do this? Because it's the right thing to do. That used to be an answer in this nation. It still is in my home, but why are you doing this? Because it's the right thing to do. What's in it for you? It's the right thing to do. Like it's not a dollar amount, it's not whatever, it's just right. It honors God, so it will be done, right? So that's a big deal. The emotional intelligence, we touched on this before, but we talked about one, I drew this out for him this morning, this cognitive triangle, where it's your behaviors, emotions, and your thoughts, and it's a triangle. And if you adjust your thoughts, all of a sudden, what you're feeling, it's like you can think, oh my gosh, and what I told him, I got to go to school or I get to go to school. So, oh man, I gotta go to school. So all of a sudden you start off negative. So now your thoughts are like, about the negative stuff about school. And now your behaviors, you're like little punk because you started this cycle, right? Just by changing, I get to go to school and learn. And it's not a public school, and I'm not gonna be coerced into some transgender art club.
Into art club.
Yeah, right? And now you're like, all right, let's go learn something, invest in me so I can live a fuller life. And now all of a sudden those emotions are like, gratitude would be the emotion of like, man, I get to come here And not everybody does, but I do, right? And those behaviors, now you're actually a little productive member of society, right? And it just sits there and cycles a different way, just because of the thought you chose. So emotional intelligence, and I'll put my military slant on this for my time as a communicator. You've heard me say this, where a conversation or communication requires transmitter and receiver. And we say, if you're not hearing from God, it's not the transmitter. He's always transmitting. It's the receiver. You're probably on the right frequency. Go find it, right? Yeah. But he's always transmitting. It's always true. It's always good. But now more for people. Like, if there is not a transmitter and a receiver, there is no conversation. Yeah. There is no communication, right? So you can do whatever you want. But if you're going to talk to me, if there's going to be a conversation, it's going to be respectful. Yeah. Now, you can still just tell me to go to wherever and all this stuff, but the second I walk out that door, the conversation's over. So there will not be any more communication, right? So there's rules when you talk to me. We train people how to speak to us, and if it's coming across in that thing, it's because you're allowing it, right? So maybe we need to relook at that. So when we talk about that emotional intelligence, that would be, in Jimmy's words, and if you're a psychologist, just cast your stones, because I'm not, by the way, but it means this. Your emotional intelligence would be, I'm transmitting something. So when I'm talking to BK, there's body language, obviously, there's tone, and then there's words. But even my eyes, like what I'm saying, what you're saying, if you're staring at the thing or texting your phone, like I'm transmitting a thing. Am I aware of what that is? Because some people, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, but some people, like when they're thinking, they go into this, I'm going to skin you mode. And you're like, are we going to fight in the parking lot? Like, what's happened? Like, this happens. Me and Jim Parker joke about it, because you'll be teaching a class and you'll be seeing this dude, usually older guy with some shooting skills, and the whole class, he looks like he just wants to like cut you up and wear your skin around the house. And you're like, okay, mad guy, whatever, you're paying me money, so I'm just going to talk. And at the end, they walk over and they're like, this was the best class I've ever had in my life, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, I wouldn't have guessed that, but thank you for saying that, right? Just zero, I'm just not aware, but I'm shooting daggers, but whatever, So what am I transmitting, and how is it affecting you, right? Just there's no bandwidth for that, so they would have a low emotional intelligence. On the reverse of that, what are they transmitting, and how am I receiving it? Like when they say a word, and I hate the word trigger, I hate it, right? Why? Because it implies somebody else is in charge of the rounds I fire.
Nope.
It just doesn't work that way, right? It's like, well, they did this, therefore I had to shoot up the place because he said some stuff. And you're like, well, he did trigger him. I'm like, are you high right now? What are you talking about? He's accountable for him. I like the picture that I told you about of that pistol, like in this case, maybe a customized Glock with no trigger. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? Didn't have trigger. Correct. Correct. You're in charge of your trigger. He's not, right? So the words you fire, you can't blame other people for. Now, there's certain buttons that people can push in me, and if it's a protection thing, what's protection, by the way? This is important. What's protection? Self-defense, stand in front of my daughter, right? That would be physical protection. Or what's spiritual protection? Spiritual self-defense, and then stand in front of my daughter to protect her spiritually. What about mental? Mental self-defense, like am I mentally okay? Making sure, like the time that I took to seek out psychologists, to seek out senior mentors that are Christians, to seek out pastors and talk and say, I want to be better in this area, right? That's me looking out for my mental health and my mental stability. Therefore, I can protect my children, right? Because they're going to mimic what they see, and that's honoring and terrifying all at the same time, right? So I must take time to make me better so they'll be better. I must take time to make Jimmy better so Abel Shepherd will be better. And the things that are coming are blowing my mind. The opportunities that are unloading, I'll be speaking at Daniel Defense to a bunch of range owners next month. Later in the summer, I go and speak at an NSSF thing on what? On community, on training, I woke up thinking about this, and I've made my decision. Here's the deal. This whole Christ first thing that I believe a lot of people aren't going to want. I'm like, then the conversation ends. It ends. Because if you want to know how this is going on and you don't want the glue to hold it all together, like any serious contractor, I'm just guessing because I'm not a construction guy, but if you're like, you know what, we're going to go totally skip the foundation, but we want you to build your building. He's like, I'm out. Yeah. I'm out. Because I take this seriously. I know a lot about this. Conversation ends here. Is there any serious people in the room? And if there's not, roger that, brother.
In the wrong room.
It's like, I'm in the wrong room. Keep your money. Okay, I can help you with this, but if you don't want my help, then I got other things to do.
And one thing I was thinking about, along the lines of the trigger, and in my mind, what I'm hearing is somebody pushing my buttons.
Yes.
So why would I allow it? Let's figure that out. But what is that wound? What is that injury? What is that trauma? Why would I even respond to? Because there's another saying you have, like, if it's not true, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if it is true,
got some work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Yeah. Don't worry about what other people say about you.
Unless it's true.
Unless they're right. It's like, if they're right, you got some work to do, right? You call me a thief, I don't steal stuff. It's like, oh, this happened, maybe we talked about this. There was a string of texts going on, right? And it was kind of, I know who you are, I know what you've done. And we cracked a thing, and we got your account for watching porn. And unless you pay us a bunch of money, and I'm like, my temperature didn't even change. I don't look at porn. Yeah. Period. Done deal. Like, there's just nothing in this. I'm like, beat it, you. Unless you pay us money, we're going to let it to your wife and your pastor. I'm like, this is cute. I don't do that. Like, I just took care of that. It's a done deal. Not saying I did in the military, not saying that in those cultures where it was the norm, even promoted, like in the stalls, like all that stuff, it's just a gone thing, right? So now, where the enemy tries to sneak in and say, I'm going to blackmail you. And I'm like, you don't have any, like, you got no material, man. Like, you know, anyways. Yes, Lord. I wrote this down, and this is something again from Bob. It's just good stuff, and more people need to hear it. And he's later on in his years where he doesn't do the counseling, but he will for me. It's like one of those, I don't really do this anymore, but see you at 10. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I'm like, I really appreciate that, and I love the guy for a long time. But when he said that, he didn't say it in this context, but this is what I thought about it. Like, I'm not going to be doing the yes, dear thing. Yes, dear, and I got to be, now I'm done being careful. But I do want to be strategic when I say this, because I don't want to cause harm and then harm people, because I'm not looking to hurt people, I'm going to help people. But the yes, dear has a negative connotation to it, to where, yes, dear, and now you're a doormat. Both ways. Not just the man, but the woman. I showed this video of Alec Baldwin. That's kind of hilarious because I can't stand him, but I actually felt sorry for him. Yeah. Like, his wife just hammers him on the red carpet, and he wants to crawl in a hole and die, right? And then he figures, like, hey, you there, pretend you know me so I can walk away. He just wants an exit, right? Yeah. But too late, the truth just spilled out for the world to see, and now your problems, you're bleeding out on all of us, and it's just not comfortable. But that yes, dear thing, and this will probably be a t-shirt, yes, Lord. Like, if you say yes, Lord, as opposed to yes, dear, you will treat your wife amazingly well. Mm-hmm. If she says yes, Lord, not yes, dear, she will treat you amazingly well, because it's no longer about you. Yeah. It's now, I'm going to give proper honor to God's daughter. Yeah. Like, and he's going to need the guy, and he's told me this. This is a special case here. I need a strong man. It's plenty of strong men. No, strong man. Strong. Like, not like Navy SEAL strong, because that's, again, print the legend. That's not what you think it is. Right? I'll say it out loud. It's not what you think it is. Navy SEALs can't do what I saw the other night with a bunch of dudes, 30 guys, then breaking into small groups and having real conversations, right? Yeah. So you can, okay, tough guy, good on you. We need you. Thanks for what you're doing, but you don't know this kind of strength. But you should, because it's taking guys out of the fight, right? You're going to need it because the world's coming. So that yes, Lord's a big deal, and I find myself saying it quite a bit, asking my question, would this be glorifying to God? And I play around with terms and ways to say things. It's pretty much saying the same thing somebody else is saying, but it's the way that I say it. I'll see a response in my son. When I say, "You're my son," you're my guy. You're my guy. You know that, right? He's like, "Yeah, Dad," and all that kind of stuff. And as we're pursuing that Job 29 kind of man, I'm like, I'm God's guy. Yeah. God's guy didn't do that. God's guy doesn't get drunk and let his kids see it. God's guy doesn't do porn. God's guy doesn't do this stuff. He doesn't do it. All of this stuff. Again, back to, thank you, Pastor Jeff, not perfectly, but increasingly. Right? It's like, I'm getting better, and that's good. And while I'm getting better, my wife is learning, I feel that she feels safe enough to want to fight back. Not me, but another amazing thing that was said by a mentor of mine, and it was, when you get married, you're going to pay bills that aren't yours, right? Yeah. And it's not trying to get out of it. It was like, there's... some of this stuff was rung up, if you think about a bill, was rung up by Dad. Some of the stuff was rung up by ex-boyfriends and relationships, maybe ex-husbands, right?
And this bill is trauma.
Yes.
Each line item is trauma.
Yes. Yeah. And then, when you made a vow to God, that bill got handed to you and you accepted it. Yep. And immediately what came to my mind, man, she's worth it. Yeah. Worth every penny of it. I'll spend the rest of my life paying that, right? And she gets mine, by the way, right? So, abandonment, like the trust in women. It's abandoned by my mom at 6 and 7. I haven't seen her since. She lives in Japan, right? All of this stuff, there was something. And I was that guy that was like, come on. Like, my dad got remarried. And my mom is named Nancy, not Kazuga, right? And I'm good. Then there was a new family, and I just talked my way into this thing, and then this is back to Fabian. He goes, well, you got a 6-year-old, right? Yeah, her name's Eden. If her mom bolted, would that affect her? And I'm like, oh my goodness.
That made it real.
Devastate her. Like, I can't even imagine that, right? Yeah. And then I'm like, okay. You know, and I told him right off the bat, man, I don't need a back rub. I don't need that Christian back rub. You know what I need is I need a shot to the lips. Like, this is the deal. Like, you talk to me, and again, not a butterfly factory. Talk to me. He goes, okay, well, you got trust issues, bro. Stemming from your mom. I'm like, did you punch me in the face? Okay, I like it. Let's go. What else we got? Because I can work with that, right? Let's go. So that's just honest talk, and I think men are being babied. I just truly believe, and I was just talking to somebody today, and that trooper, and he was talking about some of these younger men, and he's like, man, they just don't have. I'm like, man, you'd be surprised. Like, we have not demanded strength from our young people. Demanded, right? This is the true thing about young people in America. If it got bad enough when we needed them to win a war, they would. They would. That's the deal, right? Because they didn't have a choice, right? It's like, okay, now I need you to. But on the couch playing video games and bringing them freaking, whatever, juice boxes and all that stuff, it's just not a good recipe for what's coming, for what's true, by the way. It's okay, there's a world out there that's trying to kill you, and you're trying to pretend it isn't, right? And know the truth, it'll set you free. So just know that you're born into a world of war, and it's spiritual war, and you got a place in that, and you better know how to fight. Yeah. Right? So you better know that there's a 1 to 10, and this is what the world is saying. Hey, here's the deal. This is sitting in a chair, and this is finishing a marathon. No, there's this whole 10 to 20, and you better be able to push yourself to there in 1 second, and then none of that's appropriate in your living room. And maybe it is this 1 to negative 10, and you're like, okay. And I was gonna pause looking for it as Major Payne, where he's so like, sensitive, it's just, that's how guys feel. They're just so mechanically like, brother, do it. As Jordan Peterson says, do it poorly 200 times. Yeah. It's like if you have to do it 700 times, then do it poorly 200 times. The problem is you gave up at 50, right? So pursue those date nights and pursue this and pursue that and pursue that and say it out loud. Can I try something? I'm probably going to do it poorly. Yeah. And I'm probably going to get better, but really slowly because I'm that bad at it. But just know that I'm trying.
And I feel like that's a lesson I'm learning or trying to figure out. And I'm even saying it out loud because apparently not everything in my brain comes out my mouth. It's a strange thing.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. So when I'm talking with my wife, I'll say things like, hey, give me some latitude on this one. I'm trying to figure this out. In a way, I'm asking. I need to be vulnerable. I'm exposing myself here. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I want to make this work. Does the chocolate chip go in the cookie?
Yeah.
Simple things, but it's okay to say, I don't have all the answers. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm coming from a good place. Yeah. I'm starting with love. Help me get there. And it's made a difference.
And if you're not sensitive, if you're not looking for that, if you're not looking for like, how can I get better and mean it, not just like, I tried a thing, didn't work, and I'm back to just being a tough guy. But you got to be willing to look for it. A friend of mine, Jordan, thanks Jordan, she said she planted a seed, and I was having a conversation with Rachel, and then I listened forever. So I'm just like, okay, I talk too much, so it's time to listen, and pause. Then she would talk, then pause, and I just never replied, which means she kept talking. So this is all data that I can use. I'm like, okay, I want to know the truth. I want to know really, and a lot of that is you're going to get those arrows. But here's the truth: those arrows can't kill you, right? And you're going to get hit with them. But the worst thing you can do is shoot back. Because she's in flail state and she's firing to protect her. She's firing to protect her kids. She's firing against a world that treated her, whatever. And some of those might hit me, but they're not intentional and they won't kill me, right? So the last thing I can do is fire back. So sometimes you take it, and I was like, even with sexual frustrations and all that stuff, and I can't remember. It was so cool when I said to Bob, like, but man, I feel like I'm dying. He goes, then die silently. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Just send it, man. Yeah. Don't sugarcoat it. Let's just do it. It's like, you don't need this. You don't need that. No, I'll die if I don't have it. When I was a child, I acted like a child. I spoke like a child. I did childish things. When I became a man, I put childish things away. Yeah. They're just done. So stop. Knock it off. Anyways, back to Jordan. So we're talking. She's talking. I'm listening. And then I'm like, okay. And she goes, well, what'd you hear? I'm like, am I safe to answer? Because I'm just trying to listen. What do you mean you're safe to? Yeah, you're safe to answer. Well, that's what I heard. And then she's like, I can't believe that's all you heard on stuff. And I'm like, what the? So now it's like I felt like I walked into a trap. And Jordan says, have you ever thought to say, like, I don't know? I'm not sure what I heard. Can I think about it? Can I pray about it? Can I get back to you tomorrow? And I'm like, in my mind, in that second, I go, I have never once uttered, I don't know. Yeah. Even if I didn't know, I'd just talk and say some stuff and maybe go around a block and, do this number. And that was a big deal. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. And I've used it since, and it's exactly what happened. It was like, take a day and then get back with her and say, this is what I believe that I heard. And
I was amazed in these conversations, and we're in a fantastic place right now. But she would say things back to me, and I'm like, what? Like the sun came up in the west? I didn't realize that.
Today you heard this? You're like, yeah.
Like if I said that, let me try it this way.
Yeah.
Because here's what's in my heart, here's what's in my head, here's how I repainted the picture. And not that she accepted it or digested it, but she's like, oh. So it amazes me, the simplest of, gosh, I don't know, push the handle down, the toilet flushes. No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You pull it up and it goes through the ceiling. Like we couldn't have been more farther off. That vulnerability, but also the patience and being able to truly listen. Okay, this is where you're coming from. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Get me there.
So this is from Fabian, and he was saying, he was being facetious, and he said, what a coincidence. And what he was saying was, okay, so know a little bit about each of you. What a coincidence that she married a Navy SEAL. CIA guy, alpha male, safe guy, right? And he was kind of smiled and laughed, and what a coincidence. You married her, and it's like, he's like, I don't believe in coincidence. Like, me neither. So we started talking about that, and it immediately reminded me, I believe it's the boy crisis, when we were talking about, when they were talking about that, back to that cowboy that's coming in. We were scared, so we prayed for a strong man, a dangerous man. And then he showed up, and he took care of the problem. Here's the problem now.
He's still here.
He's still here. Like, we're not scared anymore, and he's freaking sitting right there, right? And so now he's that capable, I'm actually scared of him. And I've said this before, it's like, just because you're scared doesn't make me scary, right? So at some point, there is this thing in us to where we're like, you being scared, and this is Satan talking to somebody, you being scared reminds me that or you being strong reminds me I'm weak. When you're doing okay financially, Satan reminds me I'm poor. It'd be better if you just kind of went away, But if it's the truth, you're like, there's a strength in you. Can you tell me about that? Because I too would like to be strong. It's just a healthier thing, right? Instead of trying to hide it and run away as this weakling, like that. It reminds me of run, hide, fight, like that. It's more like run, hide, die, because nobody teaches anybody how to fight. It's like we're raising a generation of cowards, right? And then we're like, what do you mean you fought to protect that little girl? You run. I'm like, wait, what'd you just say? What did you just say? It's like, that's that. I did that whole series or that speaking engagement on the thought of the Titanic going down. Women and children first. The men are like, we'll sacrifice our lives for you. And then I switched it around and said, today's day and age, it's if you're going to attack, take the women and children first. Yeah. And that's what men are doing. It's disgusting. Yeah. And I want no part of it, right? Yeah. So it's like, well, what do? You show them. You model it. Like even within my church, it's like, how do we do this for the men? We show them. Just do it. Now, you are in charge of me being here, so if you say I can't reuse the free room, then I'll find another place. But don't tell me how to lead men, right? So don't tell me how to model strength, right? It's not a Wednesday and Sunday thing when I'm wearing khaki pants and button-up shirt and I just got to say certain things and not other things. It's like, brother, I asked a guy, he said it's okay. The ARs stay, the motorcycles stay, like all of that stuff. And the good news for anybody listening, if you're talking about that identity thing, this is what I heard from God, and this is for me, but it may help somebody. The things that God put there get to stay, and he put some dangerous things there, right? Yeah. They get to stay. Some of the garbage I made up, we need to look at that again. Yeah. It might have to go, right? So that's a big deal. And one of the other things that I wrote down here was keep your identity, reduce your intensity. Like, I don't think I'm intense at all, but then I do see people going like, eek, like, oh my gosh, I missed a comma. No, not a comma, but it was like, oh, I said it was done and I forgot line item 7 and Jimmy's gonna see it and they're like mortified. Yeah. And that's not healthy, no. Right? All right. Oh, and one of the other things, we've all experienced trauma, but a lot of women, like we talked about the 70% number, and I don't know what your situation is, But man, I think this was Fabian. I just want to give credit where credit's due. Traumatized, dislikes, intent. But traumatized, dislikes. He said dislikes, and then I wrote down hates, and I was like, hate's a strong word, so I made it back to dislikes. But traumatized, if I'm traumatized and you're intense, don't like it. Like after a while, it's like,
Yeah, because now I'm picturing your 1 to 10. Oh, your additional 1 to 10. Well, that to me is the intensity. That's the focus. That stereotypically, that might be characteristics of strong individuals, particularly strong men.
Yeah.
They're going to be intent. They're going to be focused. They are going to solve a problem.
Yeah.
They're going to come in hard, hit it fast.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So wait a minute. This whole problem here doesn't want any of that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, because I never, again, it's not a butterfly factory up in here. It's that the capability for that intensity is absolutely necessary, right? It's just having those skill sets. Like learn how to shoot people, then don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Learn how to fight, and anybody martial artist knows this. Learn how to fight, then don't.
Yeah.
You know, so learn how to use all this stuff. And I don't agree with Jordan Peterson. I love his Peterson Academy. I love just listening to it today. But he uses the term monster. Become a monster and then control it. And I think it's the wrong word, just for me. And he can do whatever he wants, not charging him, charging me. But monster is just, it's such a negative. I think some people, they aspire to be a monster and they don't make it back. And then they're truly a monster, right? But I think dangerous, as I put in the book, good dangerous, bad dangerous. To learn how to be good dangerous, right? I'm pretty content with that I can be dangerous, right? Spent a lot of my life pursuing that and then realized it wasn't correct, right? Because I misused it and it got me in trouble, right? So being dangerous, I just didn't really have a lot of, there were reservations, but I overcame them. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to, and this isn't a good thing necessarily, but then sometimes it could, how am I trying to say this? To stand up, walk across the room and punch somebody in the face is not an easy thing. For some people. For some people, they're just psychopaths, they don't care.
Yeah.
But to overcome that thing, because that, back to that Rocky movie that I think we've quoted before, he could kill you, right? But to kill me, he's got to face me, and to face me, he's got to be willing to die himself, right? So that's just it's a good line, because it makes you think about that, to where you're like, there's so many unknowns to that, but I kind of wrapped my head around that at an earlier age and knew how to, figured out how to use my body and my weight and all that kind of stuff, and was pretty successful in a lot of those. Not that they were self-defense, not that they were correct, but I had to kind of feel that out, basically out of fear. Like if we go back to that happy, sad, angry, scared, a lot of that came from I was scared. Like I didn't know what I was capable of, so there's that am I enough, and the wrong day it's gonna come out, I won't be able to protect my wife, blah, blah, blah. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out, but it's that kid wielding that samurai sword. Yeah. It's like there's nothing wrong with the sword, you just got no business using it, right? So that's the thing. It's like that, the sword could, you master it, you could win a war, you could save a nation, you could do whatever, all this other stuff. But if you don't know what you're doing and you're flippantly wielding this thing, you can cause a lot of damage, right? And that was me at a younger age. By younger, I don't mean 8, I mean like 25, right? So, and that's just the truth. That analogy of the truth hammer, we've talked about that. Something needs to be removed from me, from my wife, from somebody and their wife, whatever. Do you want to use a hammer to beat it out of them? Or the idea of anesthesia and a scalpel to where they don't remember the trauma? It's just gone. Yeah. So it's two different, it's like, yeah, it's gone, and I remember how you got it out of there. That wouldn't necessarily be a win, right? But again, the fish book according to her needs. This came into my mind while I was in prayer time, and I wrote somewhere in here, my notes are a mess, but a 1-hour walk. I remember seeing I think it was the Most Reluctant Convert, if I got that name right. It was the C.S. Lewis story. Okay. And if I remember correctly, his parents shipped him off to this professor that they respected, and it was like a live-in student. And he said, I want you to take a walk for an hour a day and just go. And I think it was a talk to God kind of thing. And during prayer with some of the guys from the men's mission and all that, we talked about that. We talked about making time for that. So I said, guys, I'm gonna go for a walk. We're gonna get off here and I'm gonna go take a walk. And it was just awesome to just walk and listen and talk out loud, because nobody out there was Dawson's Butte. I'm walking around and breaking in gear anyways for the new, for the Camino. But it was super cool. And while I was out there, this image came into my mind about entries. And if you know anything about tactical entries, it's a dance. Everybody needs another part. I just taught tonight, and it was literally like I go left and you go right. And if my gun goes off or I say something or I do whatever, I expect you to be right behind me protecting me. So it's like pop, pop, pop. I expect you to be there, and if I snapshot, you better be there looking the other way. If I yell at a dude, you better be there looking the other way. If I physically fight a dude, you better be there looking the other way and then help me if needed. And if I say on me, you better be there and you better be following me. Yeah. And if you say it, it's the opposite. If you do it, it's the opposite. But it's you know it's a timed, it's just like that. But when you intro to entries, when you have people come in from out of state, like a lot of guys fly in from out of state, they might spend a couple days with us. Well, in a couple days, I can't teach entries. Yeah. So we do an intro. And when we go in there, we've done this has been on the news, it's been all over the place for active shooter in schools, and it looks like this. The instructor's actually on the inside. I'm linked on to people, and when they get scared, there's shots going off, they're doing stuff, and they're about to do something dangerous. I manhandle people. I'll grab them by the scruff of their, like, throw them in a room. Go, watch them shooting it. I'm in the yard. They don't remember any of it.
None of it.
They don't remember I was driving. So I was guiding them through this turmoil, and they remember them doing it. Yeah. You know, so that popped into my head about, like, how do you actually use your intellect and guide people, but they get the credit somehow. Like, I did this, and you're like, I don't need the credit. I just need forward progress, right? So if we can use that, again, back here to this, people are like, oh, you mean be a doormat? I'm not saying be a doormat, but I'm not saying be a bull in a china shop, right? So it's like there needs to be that balance of what is true strength. What is true strength? When you see me talk to my son, when you know, like with it, getting emotional and talking to him and telling them true words, when you see me talking to those kids and reminding them every single week, thanking God every single week that I get the honor of investing in our future. Yeah. And they get to hear it. Whatever they think, and most of them now, there's a good two-way dialogue with their eyes, with their head shaking. They say thank you. Sometimes we do gratitude. Every time we do gratitude, but sometimes we go, I'm thankful for you. And it's a cool thing. It's a very, very rewarding thing that you're part of the solution to this whole mess, right? Yeah. Because without kids, we don't have a future, period. But that was this. So now I have to dissect a little more about getting a little bit more implementation on that piece of it. So how do you get to guide people lovingly when they remember it, they did it. Like I remember I did that and watching them and lift them up and elevate them. Oh, yeah. Another, man, Bob, again, come up here. He said that. He said in prayer one time he heard when he was struggling with his wife, and he shares it with everybody that'll listen because perhaps it'll help, is like, come up here and see her as I see her. And I just love even the visual picture of not just come over here, come up here and see her as I see her. Yeah. You know, and you see in your wife as this, you know, as God sees her, and then you're like, what am I doing, you know? And then praying to God, and even if you don't, even if she doesn't, right? But what if he was like, come up here and see your husband as I see him? You know, see all the mess, all the stuff and all that. And I think what you would see is a success story. Yeah. Not like rags to riches like we're rolling. You know, we have hopes, and we have, you know, like I said, we burned the ships a long time ago. There is no safety net, so this is the deal. But I love my life, man. I love the people I get to hang out with, what I get to do and all that stuff. And in one conversation not too long ago, it came up that when we were, you know, those conversations you have when you're dating, you're young, you're like, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to be a mom. You know, remember we had no kids. We had I think I was working for the CIA and all that stuff. And she's like, what do you do? I was like, I want to train people. Like, I want to train the world. She's like, what does that mean? I don't know. What do you want to teach them?
Figure it out.
I don't know. I like teaching, and I really liked the CIA portion called the TAC FAM, where we would train agents, give them a glimpse of what we do. It's very honoring. What's better than training tough guy operators, because they all know it all, they're all blah, 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 and then nobody's grateful, is when you train a single mother how to protect her children. Oh. And the gratitude is just coming and beaming because she feels powerful, right? When you teach somebody who's like giving the eyes like, are you listening? Like, you know, with the husband that handles guns in the house unsafely, but now they're in there and it's like, you know, doing hey, can you tell him the thing about the laser rule? You know, like that kind of thing. But now they leave, and it's not a dangerous hobby. It is a powerful capability, right? And talking about that self-control and telling them about the law and what this says and all that, that's a big deal. Formidable. So you know our new T-shirt coming out?
No.
Formidable, but the able's a different color. Come on, man, this is good stuff. I love it. So yeah, come up here, son. See her as I see her. According to her needs, right? So that trust. Like, what do you mean you don't trust? What do you mean? I was like, it's not what you think it means. So like I know like I said, this is the worst time I've ever seen, and I've heard, literally on the phone, and I'm not going to say names or anything, but recently there's, I've just heard 2 guys that I know that are in ministry, and their truth spilled out in one way, shape, or form, and and now all of a sudden I'm hearing things that are said in my house, but this one's even more. It's out there. It's like, whoa, some of these words are not good words, right? And now they don't even care that I'm on the phone. Did you tell Jimmy this? Did you tell him this? It's like, yikes, right? And then it's like, Father God, thank you for both of these people that I dearly love. And that's the first time there was silence. This is after like 40 minutes. Yeah. And now getting to pray over them and bringing God back into this picture really helped me see that in my situation, right? And it's like, hey, and I was very transparent. Guys, you're talking to me, you're asking me, like I'm a pro, like I don't know why. Actually, I do know why I got called. But anyways, it's an honor that my phone rang, let me put it that way, right? And it wasn't by them, by the way, it was family. But then I called to check on them and whatever. And it's an honor that you can be there for your brothers and sisters when they're in a spot that you've been in, right? And I go, to be fully transparent, like, hey guys, it happens. And I've recognized a lot of this. I'm actually on my way back from the liquor store. I got a 6-pack behind my feet right here. I'm not drinking 6 of them, I'm gonna drink 1. And I'm gonna hang out and think and pray, and I'm gonna sleep in the basement because I think that's what's best for the situation right now. But I don't want to defile that marital bed. Now I'm back in there, but there was a discussion, and these urges, I felt like me approaching her is not the right time right now. It's not the right thing for this situation. I'm not going to die. If I'm going to die silently. But the truth is I'm not. Like okay, cool, I can handle this, right? Control yourself. Roger that, But that's the truth, is that I know what you're talking about. I love you guys, right? And that goes a long way. Keep your identity, reduce your intensity. Praying to God that helps somebody else other than this intense guy. Don't take the arrows personally. We talked about that. The worst thing you can do is fire back, right? Because everybody deserves a half-second assessment, right? It's called target ID. Like, why are you shooting at the person you love the most?
Well, one time, I don't know if it was maybe last summer, you told me maybe a technique, which I've taken to heart, and you're like, before I say anything back, and this was to my wife, I say a prayer.
Yeah.
So a prayer happens here before the words go there.
Yeah.
A little filter sometimes is a good
and that's what a Bob's go-to is. It's star, and that just puts a thing to it. And I've been recently talking to Rachel to where I literally turn left. And this is stop, turn, ask God, like, then respond, right? And it just gives that pause to take those thoughts captive. Like, these thoughts, take them captive. It's like, there's been a game going on, and you never knew, 1, the rules, or 2, that there was a game, right? It's like, I wasn't aware this was a fight. That's why you're losing. That's exactly it, man. This is a real thing. People don't know it. And when we talk about this, I just want to finish with a couple of verses of drawing truth into the conversation. Looking up, this is what I read to the kids this morning, is 1 Corinthians 13:11-12. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. We're done with that. This is man stuff, right? Another lesson, I'll send you this on the way home, and you can listen to it and digest it. There's an amazing song out there, not implying anybody's in a situation anywhere similar to mine. Some of you guys, you're perfectly married, you don't have any fights. Good on you. Just enjoy it, because next week, call me. But it's called, I'm driving home, and I'm just in this funk where I'm just kind of feeling a little entitled, to be honest. And I'm like, man, I've been putting out so much effort, like, just that little self-right, whatever. And I don't want no songs. I don't want to listen to any songs. I don't want anybody to talk. I don't want to hear, the pastor. I don't want to hear Jordan Peterson. Whatever. So I grab my phone. I don't ever do this, and I've done it since. But I go click, and I go play like top country music or something. That's what I thought. Play something good that I haven't heard. Like, I just want new music. And this song comes on called "To the Men That Love Women After Heartbreak." Ooh. And I'm like, and I listen to it. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So I listened to only that song all the way home like 4 times. Yeah. And it's fantastic. And it's like, I don't believe in coincidences, right? Yeah. But it's very honoring. And it says, this doesn't make sense. Don't try to make it. That's why it takes a man. And I'm just like, oh, this is so good, right? And it just starts talking about, like, some of these tears, you didn't make them fall. Some you did, but you didn't make all these fall. And then something about, like, to those who give forever after all, like you actually provide it. It's a cool thing to dream about it when you're a kid and hear the Disney lies about it's all going to be, roses and sunshine. It's just not real, right? So now you're not going to measure up to that. But what you did do is provide. What you did do is stay. what you did. And that's one beautiful thing about Rachel and I. We're so stubborn. We just don't know how to give up, you know, and praise God. Behaviors, Matthew 5:16, in the same way, let your light shine before others that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So not see your good deeds and glorify you, because glory is not for us. Honor is. If you touch glory, you give it to God immediately, because it will devour you. Actor, just you name it, sports star, whoever, Diddy, like all that stuff coming out, I can't even believe. I don't follow any of that, but what I'm hearing is horrible. Because when you don't want or need anything and your mind goes and there's no foundation, brother, you just get what you get, right? And it's horrible. But seeing your good deeds, but then glorifying your Father in heaven, right? That's a big deal on behaviors. Emotions, Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. I think a lot of people struggle with a lack of peace. Yeah. Talk about love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. A very good report card to put on your fridge and put A to F on there. Yeah. And if you're not getting a high score in love, for guys, in self-control, why? Yeah. Why? Because if it was something that important, you'd put time into it, right? You'd figure it out. There's nothing more important than how are you scoring on love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That's the deal. That's the fruit of the Spirit. And if you're not doing well, then don't be too busy driving to stop for gas. Last one, Romans 12:2, on thoughts. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That pattern of this world, I remember reading, I think it was Dobson. I don't know, maybe it was Swindoll, but when I became a parent, right? Reading these books and trying to get ahead of them, like, am I enough? What am I going to do? Whatever. And it was, I think it might have been Bringing Up Girls by Dobson. And the beginning of it said, this world is designed to exploit your daughter. There's one thing standing in its way. You. And you're just like, oh, like you're terrified, but then you're like, bring it. Mm-hmm. Because to get to her, you got to go through me. Got to go through me. Mentally, like it's spiritually, mentally, physically, you got to go through this guy, right? And it's the right way to be. And then obviously, what are you going to do about it? So again, all of this stuff, this crazy talk and all that, I think a lot of stuff, even when I was talking to Aaron Lee about that horrible situation, it's you cannot, well, what I posted in Facebook today, the world's getting worse, it's your duty to get better. Yeah. Not to be neutral, not to stay the same, because it won't affect the average. If it's getting worse, it is your duty to get better, spiritually, mentally, and physically. And they're worth it, right? And just like I tell my kids, it's not our job to save the world. It's already been done. It's our job to try, right? So it glorifies God when we try. He doesn't need us to do anything, but when we step out of our comfort zone into stuff that guys aren't comfortable about, that's cool. Don't be comfortable with it. Just frickin' do it. You're not gonna like it. You got to do it. You know, and actually the truth is you don't got to do anything. You can burn your marriage right into the ground. I just don't recommend it. No. Like it's not in this book that you do that, right? But that's going to take a man. So define that however you want, but don't be the guy when we stop learning, we become dangerous. Yep. When we stop growing, we become dangerous. So I'm up for it. We've been doing a lot of that stuff, and some of that fruit that's coming off of this is getting really, really exciting. And I can't wait. And it's in God's timing. I'm not going to guess again because I've been wrong too many times. But we have an amazing people that have stuck through it, stuck by us through thick and thin. And opportunities are just falling off the vine right now. And it's about time to go. But I will not ask for money from investors until I trust 100%. Yep. Not like it's all seamed up and safe. There's going to be a risk, and I'm going to trust in God. But I got to believe it, or I'm not going to ask other two people to believe it. Yep. Cool. Any final words, brother?
Two things. The last episode we had Perry Saul on, went through some surgeries.
Yes.
Good news. Keep the prayers coming in. Love you, Perry. And keep it up. Encouragement. Yeah. You're doing the right thing. It's a hard battle.
Yeah.
And he didn't put you there because you couldn't do it.
Yeah. Amen. I appreciate that.
Doesn't make it easier.
No value in easy.
But I think I've been around here 8 years. The difference in my life is monumental. Yes. Can't be measured.
Amen.
Some of it in the last 2 weeks. So thank you. Word of encouragement. Keep doing it, because you are affecting so many men and women, families, spouses, children. The ripple effect is amazing. You may not get to see it.
Amen. I appreciate that, brother.
Yeah.
No, thank you. That's a big deal. I've had some guys. I've been trying to be transparent, but then not bleed all over everybody, all that kind of thing. But it is. It's. And Danny said something really cool. He's like, man, this breaks my heart because of what you do for so many people. And then you got those other people that, just to be honest, it doesn't help when some of these people are like, well, perhaps you're too busy for this. And I'm like you have no idea the efforts it took. And thank God to my team for making sure that I could carve out things. We strategically make sure that my family does not get missed. It's what, when you're aspiring to do something, it's kind of like, no. Do you want to go do? I don't. Like now it's like it's going to take a different approach, right? A more strategic approach. But I hear that and I totally appreciate that. And I feel like God's going to do some amazing things all at the same time. And I don't know. It's not prophetic and it's not like he told me that. It's just things are lining out and I've been praying quite a while. I'm like, none of this matters if I'm not good with Rachel, right? So God, if I'm going to pray for one thing, it's that, And I know I have many people praying for that and I know it's real and I don't have my eye on the door. It's like I know sometimes, when you hear about psychologists talking about it, getting back to Peterson, he's like, yeah, sometimes that door looks pretty good, right? And we've talked about that, it's like, yeah, she's like, sometimes, and again, the power in telling your spouse, look, I'm not going anywhere. We're together forever. Let's figure out this happiness thing. Let's pursue joy, because that's what I was promised by God, right? And you're the one, period. So let's just figure out all this silliness. It does something. It calms you down and you're just like, okay, what are we doing? Take a breath, but I'm in it, right? So that's super cool. And, pursuing our kids seeing some of this, weighing what they're going to see. They heard one of these discussions and my daughter just goes, she's like, Dad, can I pray for you guys? And I'm like, hey, and we were talking about this. And I told her the good news is we're both just stubborn. We don't know how to give up. She's like, that's good. Because that uneasiness in their heart, like, hey, this thing that I'm of, is it okay? Because I'm of this. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you're not of that. Like you're the best of us. Take it. Don't follow us on this. Don't ignore your spouse. Don't do that kind of stuff. And I love you. And affirming her and telling her about her discernment, her strength, and all that stuff. It blows me away.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. But yeah, I appreciate it. But yeah, Parasol, praise God on that pathology report, man. That's back and you're feeling great. I talked to him yesterday and I go, man, you sound amazing. He's like, I feel amazing. And it was just a good thing, and that we had all of these people praying and stepping up, and it's just fantastic. And it's cool that we had him on, and he's just kind of like a mascot. He's part of us. And he's talking about doing, I didn't know how he was going to be about adventures. We got some more coming up, and there's more of that coming. There's a mock rescue, fire rescue, some police contacts and all that stuff. We're just getting people, and thank you for that encouragement. I'm going to pass this on too. To the veteran community that's been on my heart, police, fire. I know those are dark, more than the populace. They're very dark cultures, meaning I'm not buying this garbage about black humor. And they call it dark humor, not black humor. Dark humor would mean we make jokes about this because it helps us cope. No, choose better words. Be stronger. That's the deal. But some of this stuff, if you got to look left and right before you talk, you probably shouldn't say it, right? And I know that this has been caustic because I've had to leave parties. I've had to take my kids and go from officer friendly all of a sudden isn't so friendly. The truth is it's a dark thing and you're pretending. So show up, come here. Let's talk about this stuff, because we've just unveiled something that I think the world needs. And I've shared this with you. It tore me up. My buddy Chad Wilkinson. That's a big deal, man. I think this Veteran Day is going to hit me pretty hard because I didn't understand about that step, the 1,000 steps, the Chad 1000. Yeah. So we'll be doing that for the first year, and I'm excited to do it and honor it. I've reached out to his wife and make that connection again. I feel compelled to reach out to his family as well, because he was an amazing man. In a moment of weakness, he opted out. It's like an absolute hero. Hero's a relative term sometimes, not all the time. Dude's a hero. He's got 2 medals. I was there for one of them, and he's a hero. Like by the president says you're a hero, then that kind of fits the decision. It's got to go through committees and all that stuff. And I don't care who you are. Nobody's immune to this. So what's worse than being surrounded?
Not being.
Being surrounded, not knowing it. It's like, okay. All right. So yeah, appreciate it, guys. This is totally different, but I think it's absolutely necessary, and I mean it. This is the worst time I've ever seen, as far as the people I know, where families and individuals are under attack. Anything good right now has a big X on it. Not only do you have to hold your ground, know the truth will set you free, be prepared to counterattack, right? Because light doesn't run from darkness. It's the other way. So until we see you again, God bless each and every one of you. We truly love you. Take care of one another. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again for another episode. Please be sure to follow us and support us on all of the social media. That's Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. All of that starts by visiting ableshepherd.com.